You've told someone you're going to buy something. Maybe it was a course, a coaching program, or some software. You told the salesperson yes, you were genuinely excited. And then something happened. You got home, sat on the couch, and suddenly the whole thing felt different. That buzz was gone. The certainty you felt 10 minutes ago had somehow evaporated, and now you're staring at your phone, wondering whether to ghost them or to actually go through with it. If you've ever been on either side of that conversation, this video is going to explain exactly what's happening in the brain and what ethical salespeople can do about it. Stay with me because the psychology here is genuinely fascinating, and if you sell anything to anyone, then this could completely change how you approach your next conversation. So let's start with one big question. Why does a person say yes when they actually mean no? Or mean yes in the moment, but then change their mind the second they walk away? Because this isn't just about dishonest people. Most of the time, when someone says they're going to buy and then they don't, they weren't lying. They believed it when they said it. And that's what makes this so important to understand. The first thing you need to know is that human beings are emotional decision makers. We like to think we're rational, and we tell ourselves a story about how we weighed up the pros and cons and arrived at a logical conclusion. But the truth is, most decisions happen emotionally first, and we justify them with logic afterward. And so what this means in a sales conversation is that if the salesperson in front of you is enthusiastic, energetic, and confident, some of that emotional state actually transfers to you. You get swept up in the moment. Their certainty becomes contagious. You genuinely feel ready to move forward. But the moment that conversation ends and you're back in your normal environment, the salesperson's energy is no longer there. The emotional charge fades, and what you're left with is the decision that you made without the emotional fuel that drives it. This is often what people call buyer's remorse, and it can happen even before any money changes hands. It can happen in the gap between the conversation and the credit card. The second reason people say yes and don't follow through is social pressure. This one is so underestimated. Some people are deeply conflict averse. They cannot stand the discomfort of disappointing someone to their face. So they say yes to end the conversation, to avoid that awkward moment, or to make the salesperson happy, and they genuinely intend to deal with it later, quietly, by just not doing anything. They figure it's easier to ghost than to say no. And here's the uncomfortable truth for salespeople. If you're using high-pressure tactics, you're generating a wave of false yeses that feel like wins, but they are actually going to become no-shows, refund requests, and dead leads. And this is exactly why ethical selling matters, not just morally, but commercially. Now let's talk about the clarity shift, because this one catches people completely off guard. In the moment of a sales conversation, you might be genuinely excited, but you're operating without the full picture. You haven't thought through the implementation. You haven't checked your calendar or your bank account or talked to your partner. The excitement is real, but it's sitting on top of some shaky ground. And then you get back to reality and the doubts start arriving one by one. Can I actually afford this right now? Do I have time to use it? What if it doesn't work for my situation? What if I'm not capable of following through? These questions were always there, but the emotional excitement of the conversation temporarily buried them. Now they've surfaced and they don't have answers. So inaction becomes the default, and inaction always feels safer than a risky decision. Here's another layer to this. Even when people fully intend to go through with something, life gets in the way. Competing priorities emerge. The problem they were going to solve with your product gets knocked off the top of their mental priority list by something more urgent. This isn't resistance. This isn't even cold feet. This is just the reality of human attention and the fact that most people are operating at full capacity most of the time. And add to that the fear factor. When people make bold decisions in the moment, fear has a way of coming back harder once the moment passes. Fear of financial commitment, fear of change, fear of failure, and what it would mean about them. So what does all of this mean for people who sell things ethically? Because here's where it gets practical. The first thing to understand is that a verbal yes is not a commitment. It's an intention at best. And what creates real commitment is action, something that the prospect actually does that costs them time, energy, or resources. Scheduling that next call, or signing the contract, or sending over a form. These things create what you might call a commitment anchor. They bridge the gap between the decision and the behavior. And this isn't manipulation, it's helping people to act on their own intentions before the emotional state shifts. The second thing ethical salespeople do is they help prospects connect to their future self, not in a cheesy visualization way, but genuinely asking them to describe what life looks like once that problem is solved. What changes for them? What does success actually look like day to day? The more specific and vivid that picture becomes, the more the prospect is buying into an outcome rather than a product. And outcomes are much harder to walk away from than products. Third, make the next step as frictionless as possible. If someone has to jump through hoops to proceed, they won't. Inertia is powerful. The path of least resistance almost always wins. So if you're a salesperson and you want someone to follow through, remove every unnecessary obstacle between their decision and their action. Now here's one that separates genuinely ethical salespeople from everyone else: acknowledging the doubt. Instead of trying to bulldoze past hesitation or pretend that it isn't there, the best salespeople invite it. They say something along the lines of, "Look, I know this is a significant decision and it would be strange if you didn't have some reservations. So let's actually talk through what is going on for you." That kind of honesty builds trust in a way that no closing technique ever could. Because when someone feels like you're not trying to push them into something, they relax. And when they relax, they're actually able to make a real decision. There's also a concept called pre-handling the buyer's remorse. And this one is powerful when done with integrity. Before the conversation ends, you can actually name the thing that's likely to happen. You might tell someone, "After we finish talking today, there's a good chance you'll feel a wave of second thoughts." And that's completely normal. It doesn't mean that you made the wrong decision. Here's what I'd suggest you do before that happens. And then you give them a framework for navigating it. This is ethical because you're preparing them honestly. You're not manipulating. You're equipping them to make a decision that sticks. Social proof also plays a role here, but it needs to be used thoughtfully. It's not about throwing testimonials at someone to overcome resistance. It's about showing them that other people who felt exactly what they're feeling right now went ahead anyway and got the results they were looking for. When someone sees their own fears reflected in someone else's story and then sees that those fears turned out to be manageable, the perceived risk drops dramatically. And finally, before you close any conversation, check for real commitment. Not a polite yes, but actual commitment. You can ask someone directly how committed they are to solving this problem on a scale of 1 to 10. If they say anything below an 8, there is still something unresolved. Don't celebrate the yes. Explore what's underneath the hesitation. That conversation done with genuine care is worth more than 10 forced closes. Here's the thing that ties all of this together. When someone says they'll buy and then doesn't, most of the time it's not about you and it's not about your product. It's about the gap between emotional momentum and real-world follow-through. Your job as an ethical salesperson is to close that gap, not by pushing harder, but by helping people to make decisions that they actually believe in and then supporting them in following through on those decisions. That's not just better for your clients, it builds a sales culture and a reputation that compounds over time. If this way of thinking about sales resonates with you, then make sure that you subscribe to this channel, because this channel is all about selling in a way that is both effective and something that you can feel genuinely good about. So drop a comment below and tell me, have you ever said yes in the moment and then backed out? I'd love to hear what was actually going on for you. And if you've got a colleague who's struggling with ghosting and no-shows, send this video their way. Thanks so much for being here, and I will see you in the next one.